Hi guys, long before we existed, the universe was already writing its memory, not in words, but in stars. Every light still shining, every shadow still falling, is a quiet echo of something it never forgot. The universe remembers, and tonight, so will you. Before we float into tonight's gentle journey through space and memory, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us keep dreaming together. Long before the first stars opened their eyes, before galaxies danced or planets spun, before even time had rhythm or light had a place to shine, the universe existed in a kind of silence we cannot imagine. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of everything waiting to begin. It was a silence so deep it pressed gently against itself, not empty, but filled with the hum of pure potential. There were no suns burning in the distance, no dust drifting through solar winds, no shapes carved by gravity. There was only space, endless, unformed, untouched, and within that space, the earliest ingredients of everything we now know floated like ghosts without names. Hydrogen. Helium. Subtle, ancient atoms born from the breath of the Big Bang, still cooling, still spreading, still wondering what they might one day become. There was no color, no warmth, no cold, because there was no mind to feel such things. And yet, in that vast dark, something extraordinary was already happening. The universe was expanding. Not with noise or light or drama, but gently, like the chest of something enormous and invisible taking its first breath in an infinite sleep. It didn't expand into anything. There was no outside. It simply unfolded, more space forming within itself, a soft exhalation written into the very shape of reality. And with each pulse, each millimeter of stretching fabric, something quiet and permanent began to take hold: memory. Not memory the way we know it, with stories and language, but a deeper kind. A primal recording of motion, of change, of becoming. The very stretch of space was written into the structure of time. Every flicker, every fluctuation in energy, every collision of particles that danced and vanished, all of it was recorded, not in words or numbers, but in the language of reality itself. The universe didn't need to write anything down. It was the writing. The ink was gravity. The page was space. The letters were temperature and pressure and rhythm, laid down in patterns that would shape everything to come. The first whisper of the cosmos was not heard, but felt. It rippled out across the growing emptiness, a breath in the dark, a soft promise: I am here. Even in its infancy, the universe remembered. It remembered how it expanded, where the ripples of energy had pooled, how the heat fell away with each passing moment. It remembered the seeds of structure before structure even existed. The background temperature cooled, but it cooled unevenly, and those tiny differences, those fluctuations barely measurable, would become the scaffolding of all future things: stars, galaxies, us. The universe etched these memories into its own invisible walls, into the curvature of space and the direction of time. No being was there to witness it, and yet nothing was forgotten. It was as if space itself kept a diary, one without words, but with the perfect fidelity of physics, storing every event not in ink, but in consequence. And so, in complete darkness, long before light ever arrived, the memory of existence began. Not the memory of something that had passed, but the memory of process, of unfolding, of potential slowly choosing shape. The silence was not blank, it was sacred. Each quantum twitch, each tremble of a wave, every moment of expansion whispered back to the universe, and the universe listened. It didn't just expand, it knew it had expanded. It held the imprint of what had been, the direction of what was, and the possibility of what could be. This is what we now see in the faint echoes of the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of that first, fiery breath, still humming softly in every corner of space. That glow is not just light. It is memory, still traveling, still warming the night with a record of the beginning. And within that memory was purpose, not conscious, not planned, but pure and reliable. Like gravity pulling downward or time moving forward, the universe was built to remember. Even as it grew vast beyond comprehension, it continued to store everything. The velocity of each particle. The direction of every force. The entanglement of energies that would one day become stars, then planets, then life. All of it started here, in this gentle, dark beginning. Before stories. Before eyes. Before breath. A black canvas stretched wide and breathing, humming softly with a lullaby that no one could hear. But the song was already playing. So now, when we look up into the night, at stars that formed billions of years later, at galaxies curling like seashells in space, we are not just seeing light. We are seeing the continuation of that first memory, unfolding slowly, elegantly, across time. And we are part of it. Because the atoms in our bodies, the carbon, the calcium, the iron, were born from the elements that drifted in that dark sea, long ago. We are built from the memory of that silence. We are, in a very real way, the universe remembering itself. And though we are tiny, brief flickers on a cosmic timeline, we carry within us the echoes of that first whisper. The expansion that never stopped. The breath that never ended. There came a moment, quiet but monumental, when the darkness was no longer alone. It was not sudden in our sense of time, but across the canvas of the cosmos, it was a spark of breathtaking immediacy. Out of the deep, ancient silence, something flared. The first stars were born, not small, steady suns like ours, but wild, unstable giants. They roared into being with unthinkable heat and mass, living brief, furious lives, as if the universe itself could not wait to light its own way. They burned in silence, yet their light changed everything. These primordial stars acted like beacons, drawing shape out of the shadows, carving boundaries in the infinite velvet night. Where before there had only been cold potential and expanding silence, now there were radiating hearts of fire, exploding with energy. And when they reached their ends, and they did so quickly, they did not fade. They erupted. They exploded with unimaginable force, supernovae that tore apart their surroundings, hurling dust and heavy elements into space. But their deaths were not vanishing acts. They were imprints. With every burst, they left behind more than glowing remnants. They left memory, written in matter, in motion, in the growing complexity of the universe itself. The gas clouds that formed afterward bore the marks of their ancestors. Their light, stretched across space and time, was not just brightness. It was testimony. It was remembrance, and perhaps it was then that something subtle shifted. Time, which had been drifting loosely through the fabric of space like an untethered current, began to find rhythm. It began to walk. Before stars, time had flowed without measure, without cause or consequence, like a river through a land without landmarks. But now, the universe had chapters. The birth of a star, its radiant youth, its quieting pulse, and then its fiery death, this was a story. And stories need time to unfold. The pulsing of stars, their cycles, their patterns, these were the universe's first drumbeats, the ticking of its first clock. Suddenly, there was a past and a future, not just directionless expansion. The universe began to age, and with age came history. It was not just existing anymore, it was accumulating experience. Time, now measured by the ticking of starlight, by the slow rise and collapse of great clouds of dust, started to press footprints into the fabric of reality. Every gravitational tug, every orbit, every collision wrote new chapters. Stars born from the ashes of those that came before carried the chemistry of their ancestors, carbon, oxygen, iron, coded not in DNA, but in fusion and fire. Every atom of calcium in your bones, every molecule of iron in your blood, was formed inside a dying star that lived and burned in those early chapters of cosmic time. You are, in that way, a product of time's unfolding memory, a page in a story that began long before your world ever formed, and still, time pressed forward. More stars were born. Galaxies began to twist and spin. Gravity took on its patient role, guiding dust into spirals and filaments. And the universe, with each breath, continued not only to expand, but to remember. This memory was not held in books or brains, but in light, in motion, in chemistry. The stars became letters. The galaxies became sentences. Time became narrative. And somewhere along that slow progression, in the deep quiet between starbursts and supernovae, the universe learned not only how to shine, but how to remember what it had been. The stars held within them the echoes of the stars before. Their light, still crossing space, was like a message sent to the future, trusting that someone, someday, would know how to listen. And now we do. Every telescope we lift toward the night sky is not just a machine of vision, but a tool of translation. We are reading the memory of the universe, its rhythms, its ages, its luminous past, one photon at a time. We are the children of memory, born from time that learned to walk. As stars came into being, lived out their luminous lives, and faded into stillness, they did not leave quietly. They left behind more than dust or gas or heat. They released something more subtle, more enduring, something that would outlive them, travel farther than they ever could, and carry within it the soft fingerprints of their existence. They released light. Light was the memory. Not memory in the way we think of it, bound by journals or digital traces, but pure memory, flowing outward, uncontained, unspoken. Each time a star flickered, each time it pulsed or danced or died, it sent light into the darkness. Not with purpose, not for an audience. Just because that's what stars do. Light is their language, their only way of speaking across the unimaginable gulfs of space. And this light, once set free, does not stop. It does not tire. It does not look back. It simply moves forward, slipping between galaxies, weaving through cosmic dust, curving gently under gravity's pull, whispering past the frozen edges of time. It stretches as it travels, pulled softly by the expanding universe like a thread unraveling from a fabric that never ends. It fades in brightness but not in meaning. It cools, but it never forgets. Some of the light that touches our world tonight began its journey long before Earth was even a thought, before the sun had gathered its planets, before the first ocean wave kissed a stony shore. That light began in a star that may no longer exist, its body long since collapsed into a remnant or scattered into the wind of interstellar space. And yet its light continues. That one stream of ancient light has wandered across the dark, brushing past galaxies that will never know it passed by, gliding across voids so vast and cold that even time seems frozen there. And somehow, it found its way here, to this pale planet orbiting a modest star on the edge of a quiet galaxy. It arrives now, quietly, resting upon our world without announcement, without ceremony. It touches mountaintops and rooftops, ocean surfaces and eyelashes. It warms the coldest places and gives shape to the night. We look up, and we see stars, but what we are truly seeing is light's memory. We are seeing what was, not what is. We are peering through time, but light is more than beauty. It carries truth. Inside every beam, there is information, subtle, coded, patient. The color of the light reveals the star's temperature. The shifts in its wavelength tell us how fast the star was moving, and in what direction. The brightness tells us how far away it might be, and how long ago it shined. Even the tiniest flicker contains knowledge of the star's makeup, its elements, its mass, its age. In this way, light becomes a messenger, a record keeper, a quiet historian. It is how the universe remembers not only that something happened, but how it happened, and why. Scientists today have learned to read this silent language, this starlight script, using instruments more sensitive than any eye. They gather the rays and study their shape, like archaeologists reading dust instead of stone. And what they uncover is not just science, but story. A story told across billions of years, written in the one language that never fades, all around us. This story continues. The sky is filled with it, not just in the stars we can see, but in the billions we cannot. From the smallest, faintest red dwarf tucked away in a forgotten corner of space, to the monstrous quasars that blaze from the centers of faraway galaxies, each one sends out light. And all that light overlaps, tangles, passes through each other in silence, like a million voices humming the same lullaby in different keys. The sky above is not just decoration. It is an archive. A living memory. A journal of existence written in waves. A cathedral of glowing echoes. Even light from the oldest days, the leftover glow from the Big Bang itself, still lingers around us, gently warming the edges of the universe with its presence. This cosmic microwave background is not noise. It is the first light, stretched thin with age, still whispering, "I remember." And so, we stand here, tiny creatures made from the very dust those stars released, and we look up. We squint through the dark. We wonder. But more than that, we are listening. We are listening to what the universe has been trying to tell us since the beginning, that nothing truly disappears. That even light remembers. That distance is not forgetting. That age is not erasure. When you close your eyes tonight and feel the soft glow behind your lids, remember, some of that light has traveled across time to reach you. You are not just alive in the universe. The universe is alive in you. It is not silent. It is singing, in waves, in glimmers, in gentle beams from stars long gone but not forgotten. Light is the universe's way of saying, "I was here. I am still here. I remember everything," but light, as eloquent as it was only part of the story. Beneath the glowing memories that danced across the cosmos, there was another keeper of time, something silent, invisible, and far older than the stars themselves. Gravity. It did not shine or shimmer. It made no sound. And yet, it held everything together. It was the soft hand that guided the dust to gather, that pulled gas into the hearts of stars, that spun entire galaxies into spirals of fire and silence. It did not speak, but it remembered. In every curve of a planet's orbit, in every tidal pull, in every collision, gravity recorded the story of what had happened, not in light, but in motion, in direction, in distortion. When two stars passed close, their paths were changed forever, and gravity stored that change, embedding it into space itself. When galaxies collided, vast cities of stars folding into each other, the chaos was not lost to time. It was pressed into the shape of the universe. Their cores merged. Their arms stretched. And space itself remembered the encounter. Every movement left an imprint, like footprints across a sleeping field. The universe did not forget. It could not forget. Because gravity ensured that every action, no matter how small, reshaped reality. Even now, billions of years after those events, we can still find their traces. When we map the sky with precision, we see trails, faint rivers of stars, torn from ancient galaxies devoured by larger ones. We see shells of stars rippling outward from forgotten impacts. We detect warps in galactic disks, the lingering scars of cosmic collisions. And in the deepest silence of the universe, we listen for ripples, waves in the very fabric of spacetime, caused by black holes that collided long before Earth had air. These gravitational waves are not noise. They are echoes. Proof that the universe has a memory far older than we can comprehend. It is not a memory held in thoughts or language, but in shape, in pattern, in rhythm. Every orbit is a sentence. Every spiral is a paragraph. Every galaxy, with its stars swirling around an unseen heart, is a page from the universe's memory book, still turning, still unfolding. We are only beginning to understand how to read this script, this quiet choreography written in distance and force. But even in our earliest attempts, we've discovered something profound. Space is not empty. It is full of stories, and perhaps the most humbling truth is this: gravity has shaped everything we know. It holds moons beside planets, planets around stars, stars within galaxies, and galaxies within clusters. It even binds the dark matter we cannot see, sculpting invisible structures that guide the visible universe. All of this motion, this gentle orchestration, is not random. It is the accumulated history of billions of years. A memory not erased but layered, like ancient sediments pressed into stone. Nothing disappears, everything leaves a trace. The way Earth leans toward the sun. The way our galaxy spins. The way a comet arcs through the sky once every 100 years, all of it is a result of memory. A result of something that once happened and was never forgotten. The universe, it turns out, keeps track, not with pages, not with ink, but with orbits and momentum and quiet, perfect math. It is a memory palace made not of stone or thought, but of planets and stars and the spaces between. A memory kept not in silence, but in balance, and then, there is the darkness. Not the absence of light, but something more mysterious, more purposeful. Something present but invisible. It does not flicker or shine. It does not burn with heat or echo across the sky. Yet, it is there. Everywhere. Beneath the luminous spirals of galaxies, behind the stars that pulse and die, within the great quiet spaces between celestial bodies, there is something else. We call it dark matter. Not because it is evil or ominous, but because it defies our vision. We cannot see it, cannot touch it, cannot gather it in our hands or reflect its light through a telescope. It moves in secret. It whispers in mass. But still, it shapes the universe in ways no other force can. It holds galaxies together, arms of stars that should be flinging apart still swirl in perfect harmony, as if cradled in unseen hands. These hands belong to dark matter. Though it does not glow, though it does not speak, it sculpts the very framework of the cosmos, and in doing so, becomes a kind of memory keeper, one whose language is gravity, whose story is structure, whose silence is deep and profound. Dark matter is like a ghost in the architecture of the universe, the invisible scaffolding upon which everything luminous is hung. Galaxies are not just accidents of stars and gas, they are shaped, steadied, and held in place by something older and quieter. When we map the heavens, we find shapes that should not hold, spinning disks that should fall apart, clusters that defy their own weight. But they do not fall. They remain. They remember where they belong. And that memory, that stubborn persistence of shape, is the work of dark matter. It does not waver. It does not fade. It forms vast halos around galaxies, stretches filaments across the great cosmic web, links clusters together across distances so vast they cannot be grasped in a single breath. In this invisible network, the universe takes form, not as chaos, but as structure. It is dark matter that ensures the past is never fully lost, because it holds onto the shapes that light alone cannot explain. It does not erase. It preserves. Perhaps, then, this is what memory truly is, not only the spark of light across space, but the quiet persistence of form. The way things hold their shape, even after the forces that built them have faded. The ghost of gravity's hand still pressed into the fabric of the galaxy. The curve of a spiral arm held fast by something no eye can see. And in this way, dark matter becomes the most faithful archivist of all. It does not shine. It does not speak. But in the stillness of deep space, it holds the universe in place, piece by piece, motion by motion. It remembers not just what is, but what once was, and what will still be. Its memory is not in brightness, but in balance. Not in color, but in cohesion. Memory does not always arrive as light, sometimes, it is the shadow that never moves. The framework that never crumbles. The shape of what endures, long after the stars themselves have gone quiet, and then, beyond the glow of stars and the warmth of light, there is the darkness, not emptiness, not silence, but something else entirely. It is not the dark of nothing, but the dark of presence, unseen, untouched, yet unmistakably there. Scientists call it dark matter, but that is just our name for a mystery. It does not shimmer, does not flicker, does not burn. We have never seen it, not directly. We cannot hold it, cannot trap it in a jar, cannot take a photograph of its face. But still, we know it's there. Like a ghost beneath the surface of a frozen lake, dark matter moves, not in chaos, but with purpose. It shapes the galaxies we see. It holds them together with invisible hands. The spiral arms of galaxies, the clusters of stars, the threads that stretch across the cosmos, all of them held gently in place by something that makes no sound. Without it, galaxies would fly apart. Stars would drift. The sky would unravel. But it does not. It holds. And so, we know, something unseen remembers where things belong. Something silent is keeping time in the background. A presence older than light, more constant than fire, has been with the universe from the beginning, making sure nothing forgets how to stay whole. Dark matter doesn't leave clues like light does. It doesn't write in waves or colors. It doesn't send beams through space or shimmer across telescopes. Instead, it writes in gravity. It writes in balance. It writes in the shape of what holds. When we look at galaxies, we see their stars, but we also see how they spin, how they cluster, how they move as one. And those motions don't make sense without dark matter. The way a galaxy holds together, the way a galaxy cluster remains bound. It's all being sculpted by something we cannot see, like wind shaping dunes or currents guiding driftwood. Entire halos of dark matter surround galaxies, massive and formless, but undeniably real. These halos don't glow, but they cradle the glowing. They don't create stars, but they keep stars close, so they don't drift too far, don't forget the center, don't forget each other. It's as if the universe, in its wisdom, wrapped every bright thing in something dark, not to hide it, but to protect it. To give it structure. To give it memory. This invisible scaffolding has no edges, but it has limits. It holds the pattern of things. It remembers what came before and gently influences what comes next, and that may be the most profound thing of all, that memory doesn't always shine. Sometimes, it lingers in what does not move. Sometimes it endures not through brightness, but through stillness. Sometimes it is the dark outline left when the painting has faded, the invisible tension that keeps a mobile from collapsing. Dark matter may be the most faithful keeper of memory the cosmos has ever known. While light travels and fades, dark matter stays. While stars explode and vanish, dark matter holds. It is the quiet foundation beneath all the brilliance. Not a storyteller, but the page on which all stories are written. It cradles galaxies like seeds in its invisible hands, allowing the light to bloom while it remains in the background, never demanding to be seen. And so, even in the darkest places, especially in the darkest places, there is history. There is shape. There is meaning. We often think that what matters most must be visible. But the universe reminds us that sometimes, what matters most can never be seen. It can only be felt in the way things move, in the way they stay, in the way they remember. So when we look up and see only starlight, we must remind ourselves, the shadows are not empty. The darkness between the stars is not blank. It is alive with presence, ancient, quiet, and vast. It is the framework upon which everything else depends. It is the architecture of memory itself, built from silence, held in tension. The universe holds its shape because of what we cannot see. Because of what does not shine. And maybe that is the deepest kind of remembrance there is, not the kind that announces itself, but the kind that simply never lets go. In the deep black between the stars, there is something that still speaks. Not in sound. Not in light. But in gravity. In shape. In the way the galaxies continue to turn, softly, steadily, as if guided by a hand that has been there all along, and even when we are gone, when our footprints have been swept away by time, when our monuments crumble, when the hum of our machines finally goes quiet, the universe will still remember. Not in grief. Not in noise. But in the soft, persistent way it has always remembered everything. Our satellites will continue to orbit long after we forget their names, gliding silently through the black, touched only by starlight and the slow tug of gravity. The golden records we launched into the unknown, carrying whispers of music and language and longing, will drift through interstellar space, perhaps never heard, but never lost. Somewhere beyond the outer planets, a probe we once built, with our hands, still sails outward, carrying with it our questions, our breath, our hope. On Earth, our cities may fade. The roads we walked, the towers we built, the signs we wrote, all of it may be buried in layers of wind and soil, worn by rain, scattered by root and rust. But shape remembers shape. And even if no one remains to recall what was, the trace of us will linger, not because we were grand, but because we were. Even the light we cast, the radio waves, the flicker of electricity, the beams from telescopes and lighthouses, will continue to travel outward, slower and fainter, but forever moving, carrying a glimmer of our presence through the dark. Because that's the secret, isn't it? That in a universe where everything changes, nothing is truly lost. Every photon that leaves a star, every tiny ripple that spreads through the fabric of space when something shifts, every small breath taken in quiet, all of it is kept. Not in libraries. Not in memory cards or archives. But in time itself. Space holds it. Gravity carries it. Light broadcasts it. You are not forgotten, even if no one speaks your name. Because your atoms stirred the air. Your thoughts shaped motion. Your heart made rhythms that added to the pattern of everything. The universe is not a machine that deletes. It is a memory palace, vast, cold, warm, infinite, and every action, every presence, every moment adds to its unfolding story. So when you close your eyes tonight and sink into the stillness, know this: the stars may seem far, the galaxies unreachable, but you are part of them now. Stardust that awoke, asked questions, dreamed, and listened. You are the universe remembering itself, softly, briefly, beautifully, and maybe, just maybe, that's what dreams are. Not illusions. Not noise. But echoes. Echoes of hydrogen singing, of gravity dancing, of stars dying and being born. Echoes of everything the cosmos has seen and felt. Dreams may be the way the universe replays itself through you, not to change what happened, but simply to remember that it happened. So drift gently now. Float through that great sea of memory. Let go, knowing nothing truly disappears. The past isn't gone. The stars still whisper. The silence is full. You are made of it. And it holds you, always.